End stream.
Wow. What a struggle
Finder.
bus, guys.
Pages. Pages.
Oh, God. Okay, so...
Chapter 11, Stealth Tactic.
You'll never believe what just happened. Welcome back to Blind Proofing, where I was just trying to stream this very same episode, and I deleted the entire chapter that we were about to listen to by having it selected, clicking a button, replacing it with some weird symbol. I have no idea what just happened, but we're back. I restored it because I've done this before to myself, so I know how to restore things on at least Pages for now. So
Streamlabs desktop. Finder. Safari.
stressful, but we're back.
Google Chrome.
We're back.
Speechify. Pages.
Pages.
Toolbar. Document. And page 8. Page 7. Summary. Page 8. And header. Body. In edit chapter. Format. Move. And read. Page 2. Summary. Fruit. After grabbing bananas. Blue.
Why?
Select all. Copy.
Chapter 11. Stealth.
Copy.
Chapter 11.
Actions available.
So
You are
did not
currently on a
change.
page inside of a layout area. To
Open
add comment
Speechify.
and jump to page format, press Control, Option, Command, Space first to bring up the action menu to interact with the content of this page.
620 Solid Ground Snacks Concessions Agreement. Rank normal. Current voice John button. New change shortcuts. Rowan narrator. Rowan narrator. Hot new Marnie GB gentle. Rowan icon Wi-Fi smart vector 20. Voice library. Voice library. Icon Wi-Fi smart vector 24. Icon magnifying glass vector 24. Button. Icon Wi-Fi smart vector 20. Icon Wi-Fi smart vector 24. Voice library. Voice library. Icon magnifying glass vector 24. Icon filter vector 24. Button. Icon Wi-Fi smart vector 20. Offline mode. Showing only voices that have offline versions. Shortcuts. Heading. Icon plus vector 24. Button. Pop John narrator. Button. Rowan narrator. Featured. Heading. Rowan narrator. Button. Rowan narrator. Pop up button. Rowan narrator. Pop up button. Return to Siri. Button. Status bar item. Swipe down with 3 fingers to reveal notification. Speech off.
Copy.
Chapter 11.
Actions available.
Stealth tactic.
You are currently on a page. Copy. Actions available. You are currently on a page inside of a layout area.
Said Alexander into the camera, taking time to chat with his growing number of fans during his upkeep hour. Today we have some new game elements to test, and I want to try and learn a new spell, so I'll be bringing another old friend of mine to play with me Malice, Daredemon, and anyone else who joins the action inside Imperium. Am I finally going to show off what me and Daredemon have been working on? I guess you all will have to tune in and see, answered Alexander. He at one time would have felt bad for not answering his fans' every want and need, but now he felt that his secrecy was helping him thrive. Just by watching him play, new and old players were getting an education in what it was to truly test themselves in the gaming world. Within Endless things were changing drastically, and Alexander was excited to see his love for experimentation catching on. New videos were being uploaded nearly every minute to YouTube, showing the result of new ideas being investigated in ways they never had before. The collector framework was being hailed as potentially the most legitimate way to customize a class, and for the first time in gaming history, no one was in a rush to level, but instead, everyone playing was trying to find themselves in-game, searching for what they loved, and unraveling the secrets and aspects of everything previously left unseen.
Oh,
Yeah, I did notice that, and I don't really know why.
I jumped the gun.
Streamlabs Desk Finder. Safari. Google Chrome. Chrome. Who's using Chrome? Window. Pages. Page. Google Chrome. Who's using Chrome? Window. Who's using Chrome? Address and search bar up. You. So YouTube, website, web content, bit visited, skip navigation, search, end up, search tooltip, create, group, notification, group, tooltip, account menu, loading, blind, visited, link, account menu pop up, button, banner. Item, two items, live, tab, post, latest, select, oldest, level 2, more actions, level 2, link, AudioBookAnime. Spell Tank Ep3 and exclude complimentary YouTube video player group. You are unable to play media group. You are currently on a group. This item is dimmed to end of main. Update profile photo heading level 1 at blindfold 1.1.84 1 at head update group main. Link test new feed link policy link privacy link update profile photo description link customize chat visited link manage video link community shorts and form shorts tab play posts Tab, search, latest, select popular, old, left, more action, notify me, toggle button. You are currently on more actions, but scheduled for 5/24/26. 1. Heading level 3, level 2, link, audiobook anime. Spell tank Ep3 and exclusive lit art. Schedule more action, notify me. Heading level 3, level 2, link, audiobook anime. Lineage of link, schedule more notify me. Heading level 3, more actions, button. Heading level group. You are currently on a group. Complimentary. YouTube video, 0 minutes, play. Mute keyboard shortcut M, button, group. Shortcut, unmute keyboard shortcut M.
You guys should be able to comment now. Sorry about that. If
Pages.
anybody had
Pages.
already.
T chapter 11, now in, 17. Militant militia, window.
Let me close.
Body, close, body, page 1 of 9. Edit text, content. Google Chrome. Streamlabs, stream button, rec, but end, live group, 0 viewers.
Okay.
Pages. Pages. Chapter 11 stealth tactics pages, window. Body, page 1 of.
Epistem is letting this much in game content.
Speechify has
They normally
new
wipe
window.
Everything that gives too much information from the internet entirely. But in all reality, I think that it may have to do with the content that was being shared previously, not supporting their overall brand. I mean, think about it. If you all were building a game where you wanted the foundation of the experience to be that anything is possible, would you want everyone sharing videos of people following these cookie cutter classes instead of creating something for themselves? The conversation in his streams chat exploded. Many of the viewers in agreement with what Alexander's line of thinking. Well, guys, sorry to cut this short, but I got some chores and need to get them all done before I log back in. He closed his chat and stood, grabbing a granola bar and opening it as he picked up the trash bags he'd set at the door. His delivery of an extra set of liquid MRRs, 4S, and waste tanks sat at his door, and after he set them just inside his condo, Alexander made his way to the trash chute, throwing away his trash before heading down the stairs to make his way to the corner store. The streets outside were still covered in snow, and Alexander took longer than he would have liked to get to his one-stop shop just down the street from his home. He waved at the cashier and strolled toward the aisle filled with his favorite noodles, only to sigh and shake his head as he walked past. Can't eat like that anymore. My muscles already hurt from all the muscle training simulated by my capsules use, said Alexander to himself, headed toward the area with fresh fruit. After grabbing bananas, blueberries, raspberries, and a large tub of strawberries, he headed toward the frozen food section and took out a 10-pound pack of salmon planks to cook for himself. Noticing that his favorite granola bars were also in stock, he picked up a box and strolled over to the counter. He didn't even notice the cashier's strange look at his obvious sudden change in diet as he turned around to grab a few water bottles and a jug of cranberry juice. Will that be all?" asked the friendly face, and Alexander smiled, nodding in confirmation. "You on a diet or something? You look great already. Dare I say you look better than normal. Practically glowing," said the young woman with a sudden blush. "Yeah, kinda, I guess you could say that. Just need food with better nutritional breakdowns for my workouts." "Really? My brother said he hasn't seen you at your gym in a while. He thought you quit, only to find out you owned the gym and hired your own replacement," said the cashier, and Alexander smirked. "Someone's been keeping tabs on me. Yeah, kinda taking a leave of absence, working at my old job for a little while, just seeing where it goes." The cashier nodded. "I see. I'll have to let my brother know. He honestly misses you at the gym. I guess the new trainer isn't as thorough from what he says about the guy, but my brother can't afford to not train if he is really going to make it as a guild tank and increase his streamer following," said the young woman, finishing up and handing him the few bags. I see. What's your brother's avatar name? I'll have to check him out sometime," asked Alexander, swiping his phone over the Apple Pay scanner, the beautiful chime signaling his successful purchase. "Simon the Valiant, all one word. Let me know what you think. I'm sure he would love to know that you checked him out." Alexander nodded in agreement, walking off. His thoughts drifted toward his plans for the day, and Alexander wondered what type of spell he should try and learn next. Suddenly looking around at the snow that caused him to walk far slower than he normally would, Alexander got an idea. Frost mages are pretty numerous in Imperium as backline fighters. "I wonder if I can learn how to use some sort of ice manipulation skill or ability," murmured Alexander, until his phone chimed with a thunderclap, signaling to him that both Brittany and Darren's avatars had just logged on. Fuck, I'm late, said Alexander, picking up his speed and beginning to run, smiling as he convinced himself of his next steps. First, smoke bombs, then ice magic. So, about this Titan achievement, asked Brittany for the third time. Shh, said Alexander, looking around at the unsubtle glances now being directed toward them at Brittany's words. We'll talk about it later, said Alexander. Yet his mind drifted toward what he was actually trying to accomplish regardless. The Titan achievement was an all-out oddity in the PvP community of Endless. The achievement came in 4 grades: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, with a fabled diamond grade that no one had ever proven the existence of. Bronze resulted when Imperium was defended without the perimeter wall being breached in any way, shape, or form. This was already seen as nearly impossible, but plenty of guilds had managed it in the past. The silver grade was given when Imperium was defended without being breached through any kind of destructive measures, and no defenders died. Many felt this was impossible, and Alexander would have agreed before coming to a new understanding with him playing the game recently. Anything is possible. Then the gold grade was achieved when the city was completely sieged, without any invaders dying at any point throughout the battleground. Alexander felt that this was possible if the odds were stacked against the defending avatars being spawned into Imperium, but knew that ranks were normally spread evenly across both invaders and defenders, making sure that each side had the same amount of experienced and inexperienced players on each side of the confrontation. The platinum grade was only given once, to a player that managed to kill the entire ruling class of nobles throughout Imperium without being seen. This is what made the loyalty to stealth classes being played by PvP avatars unmatched throughout Endless since the beginning of the game's launch. Yet, no other players managed the same feat since, which left Alexander to ponder what a mythical diamond grade could be given for. He felt it would have to be a yet-to-be-thought-of result to the battleground, but he had a few ideas. Ideas that he honestly didn't know how to make happen as new as he was to his PvP journey. How could we make a full clear happen? Maybe by... His mind drifted toward the quest for the discovery of the spy ring. If there was a way to play both sides of the Imperium battleground, then maybe killing both sides, invaders and defenders, actually was possible. I've got to be tripping, thought Alexander, unable to stop himself from smiling. Well, guys, we're fucked, said Brittany, causing Alexander to look down and toward her and the rest of his party. What makes you say that? Asked Darren, his eyes flitting about on a hovering screen in front of his face, indicating that he was reading from his in-game web browser. Darren now also wearing a white mask to cover his identity from the rest of the newly spawned players around them. He's smiling. I don't know what he's smiling about or why, but trust me, it isn't going to be good for us. Alexander narrowed his gaze at Brittany, wondering how she knew he was smiling while he too still wore his white mask. A question also shared by their newest party member, Darren's sister, Olivia. How can you tell he's smiling? Asked Olivia. I don't know. I can just tell. It's probably the wickedness in his eyes when he's having impure thoughts, or the weird grumbling in my stomach, but trust me, we are about to do something that will come with all-around bullshit and even more fuckery. Mark my words, said Brittany, raising her longsword's tip toward Alexander's eyes as he rolled them at her. I see. Well, that doesn't fill me with anxiety and despair. Not like I still have all my spells to lower my pain tolerance and heal us. Oh, wait, I don't have fucking prestige like an idiot, said Olivia. About that. How are your parents taking that? Said Brittany, her question causing the siblings to share timid glances, before Olivia looked back at Brittany and shrugged. We have been what is called temporarily cut off. Don't know what that means, but it happened, and we aren't talking about it, said Olivia with a strange chuckle. It was Brittany and Alexander's turn to share a look, both knowing what other was thinking in that moment. Must be nice to be Omega rich, thought Alexander. I know, right, thought Brittany, as they both turned to face the wilderness of Imperium. Everyone remember the plan, said Alexander, his party members all making their own unique sound of confirmation. The siblings murmured softly, showing their growing apprehension, as Brittany's snort made Alexander chuckle. I'll take that as a yes. Olivia, try not to get caught too far away from any groups. Give yourself space, and we will keep you covered, said Alexander, as Brittany, Darren and him vanished, becoming far more invisible in broad daylight than any level 0 avatar should be capable of. Holy shit, bro, you were serious about that. I thought you were joking, said Olivia in a near whisper, jumping as Darren whispered from not even a foot behind her. Nope. The defending avatars all began to form groups outside the perimeter wall. All available tanks spawned outside, picking from the new players around them. Alexander had found this odd, until he was told that if he would have had his notifications on the first time he joined Imperium, he would have been able to select a preferred role. either tank, damage dealer, or buffing healer. Once a role was selected, a bit of advice was given to each role type. Tanks were told to draft teams from players willing to join teams around them. Damage dealers were told to join teams and support however their classes could, while buffing healers were told to keep everyone alive. You got a party," yelled a nearby tank toward Olivia, who shook her head. "No, but I have a quest in the mines nearby that I need to complete to become a healer," lied Olivia. The armored young man scratched his chin and nodded. "Well, join us then. We can take you by the mines on our way toward the spawn point. The mines are beside. Do you have enough basic bandages or potions to start off until you unlock your healing spell?" Olivia shook her head, and another player walked over to her, handing her a bag full of basic healing items. "Here you go. I bought extra. Just pay it forward to the next aspiring healer. There aren't very many of us," said another robed young man, with a smile that Olivia returned with a slight nod. "Thanks. I'll do my best." It didn't take long for groups to be formed from the near 200 players outside the perimeter wall of Imperium, and before Alexander and the others knew it, the groups were setting off in various directions. Brittany, Darren, and him all followed just behind Olivia's group, searching the trees for invaders, while Olivia chatted up her party members. "You must have a pretty special or rare quest to be getting your healing spell inside a PvP battleground," asked one of the casters beside Olivia. "Yeah, sure do. Trying to unlock some new sort of battle healer. I'll be able to heal my party by doing damage to others from what it sounds like," said Olivia, and Alexander had to force down a laugh at how wide the caster's eyes grew at her words. Olivia had previously been a healer and grown slightly bored, jumping at the opportunity to create a class of her own where she both was able to support her friends and kill her enemies, which she now fully believed was possible due to what her brother had shared with her after seeing the many oddities that Alexander had managed to pull off since Darren joined him and Brittany. "Oh, wow. That sounds like a frightening class for sure. You'll have to tell me what you did to get that if you have time before this battleground ends. That's if we even make it to the mines. Don't half the Imperium battlegrounds end prematurely at this level? Yeah, if half either team dies before the city is taken or successfully defended, or 10,000 players die, whoever has more living players on their side wins, which is mostly what happens at this level." "Damn, I didn't know that," thought Alexander, feeling like he'd barely cracked the surface of what PvP gameplay in Endless had to offer. "I guess you have literally only spent the last near week fighting in a damn tunnel ace. Not much to be learned there." Before Alexander's mind could roam any further away from the task at hand, his eyes tracked movement in the tall grass to the right of Olivia's group. He tapped Brittany's shoulder, gesturing toward the parting grass, directing her attention toward the unseen invaders that silently approached. Brittany nodded and began to slink toward the edge of the wide dirt path Olivia's group walked down. Darren just behind her, pulling out a bow and a single arrow as he prepared for combat. "Let's see what we can do as a party outside of a well-prepared ambush." Then Alexander realized they were still about to ambush the invaders that approached, and with how they were currently following a near dozen unprepared casters that were unknowingly serving as bait, that his group was still performing a well-prepared ambush. Okay, maybe an unpracticed ambush. His group moved with a precision that he didn't expect they'd be able to execute without years of training, only for Alexander to remember that he wasn't playing with a group of new players, but instead was playing with a group of skilled players that had been stripped of every advantage they'd worked hard to gain. Without one exception, which in the end may prove to be the most rewarding advantage of them all: knowledge. Alexander, Brittany, and Darren strode into the tall grass, approaching the stealth group from their flank. Alexander's height gave him a vantage, letting him see the four figures slipping through the wilderness from above, their invisible forms still causing the grass to part as they brushed by. "There are four of them. Britt, you take the one in the middle closest to us. I'll loop around and grab the one on the right middle, Darren. Do your best to take out the rear. Whoever kills their target the fastest. Begin to work on the vanguard," said Alexander, mentally through his group's party chat. His party moved swiftly, Alexander taking a wide path to be able to not only keep his eyes on both his party members and the invaders, but to also ensure to not alert his target toward his approach. The group of invaders slowed as they approached the edge of the tall grass, and Alexander sped up slightly as he saw Darren raise up from his crouch, taking aim toward the nearest movement to himself. "Now!" yelled Alexander into party chat, reaching out toward his target, their inferior camouflage skill only making them a tad hard to see in the swaying vegetation all around them. Darren's bowstring twanged near silently, as Brittany grabbed her victim from behind, slicing their neck open. The only thing heard in that moment was the body of Darren's target hitting the ground, a gargle of blood as it filled Brittany's victim's throat and mouth, and a gasp of air as Alexander grabbed up his target from behind, immediately draining the stealth class's health while choking the young woman out. Olivia turned at the strange sounds, only to see a parting of grass one moment, before another stealth class avatar was revealed, as an arrow lodged into the side of their skull, Brittany appearing behind the dying player, pulling their body back into the depths of the tall grass. Holy. What's up? Did you see something back there? Asked the healer, still talking casually with Olivia. No, thought I did, but I might just be tripping. Not like I have a high perception attribute, said Olivia with a laugh. Yeah, with how many times I've died to a stealth and survival avatar out here, I've become more than a little bit jumpy my damn self, said the healer with a laugh. But don't ignore anything out here. Pay attention to sight as much as sounds. You'd be surprised by how much more stealth classes remain unseen, but still make a lot of noise. Are you just going to have me down here every time Alexander and his people do something interesting? Started Edward, looking around the newsroom with a smirk. I'm starting to feel like your CO host, Ali. Ali smacked her hand down on the table, glaring at Edward. The dev team owes me a lot of favors, Edward, and I'll blow as many of those favors on explanations of this utter shit show we have all been witnessing over the past few days, if I bloody want to... Noted. No big deal, I guess. Just thought you wanted to share important news. Not just review gameplay that nearly every other streamer online is doing reaction videos to right now, said Edward, looking toward the camera and raising his eyebrows. You think you're real funny, don't you, big man? Well, let me tell you something that these other streamers you're talking about may not be aware of, said Ali, waving her hand through the air, causing various images of Alexander's and the rest of his team's notifications to pop up on screens behind them. Olivia, a.k.a. Goddess, is actually building a fucking damage-dealing healer that heals purely through doing damage. If you thought that it was bullshit, it's not people. Brittany is officially one of the fastest leveling players in the history of the game. By simply prestiging her avatar, she may not be gaining attributes, points, but her skills are leveling incredibly fast. So fast, in fact, that even though she is not gaining stat points, she is still able to kill PvP avatars that are a part of the 999 with growing ease, said Ali, as a clip showed Brittany's avatar exchanging blows with a stealth avatar with gear that looked well above their current level 0 status. She died in that fight, said Edward. Yeah, and what does that have to do with her genius of an ex-boyfriend breaking his class more and more every day, said Ali, letting the remainder of the clip play out, showing Alexander appear from thin air to collide with the player that killed Brittany, knocking the barely living player off their feet and curb stomping them to death. You have to admit, Ali, they are incredible players, but they do die. A lot. Just a couple days ago, you were talking about how far they have fallen from being the best of the best to becoming shells of their former selves. I'll be honest, Edward, you're right. I did say that. But that was before they started putting up absurd numbers in battlegrounds as players new to PvP. And don't get me started on fucking Darren. What about him? He is coming along very well for a player who is doing something in-game they've never done before. Oh yeah, you're right. He hasn't shot a bow in-game before, you're right. But you know where he has shot a bow before, Edward? In the Olympics, answered Edward, smirking. In the bloody fucking Olympics, which apparently he said, before using the collector framework in-game, didn't feel the same. But now that he is, shooting a bow is like second nature to him. What is the problem exactly? Shouldn't we all be happy that our skills in the real world can be appreciated in-game with this discovery? Yes. Yes, Edward, we should. But the problem is all the hard work players have put in the game up until this point to discover that their natural gifts could have also helped them get further along, and may even have given them an edge to compete with fucking pay to win heirs. Now, Ali, you know you are being unfair. Alexander was poor until his mother's stream took off, and we all know she used internet cafes in her free time to become a streamer. And she made him work multiple jobs and graduate from school early before he was allowed to play or buy time at internet cafes. Brittany got her first capsule by winning a school sports competition and only found success after her and Alexander met each other. And neither of them used his mother's success in-game to grow their followings. Darren and his sister Olivia probably won't forgive you for what you just said either, as they both were originally disowned by their family for their want to become professional streamers, and lived on the streets for years before they found success. It was only after they were undoubtedly famous that their family's patriarch, took them back into the fold. I'd be careful not to make them your enemies. They are quickly becoming rather skilled player killers. And you may be strong now, but how long before they're able to camp your guild house? Ali looked away, frowning. She knew much of what Edward had shared and more, but hadn't thought of it as he chose to present the situation until he defended the young players. It seems that maybe I'm being too hard on them, but I have to fight for those who feel unheard. And much of your players both on and off planet, that what they are doing isn't normal or fair, started Ali, waving her hand through the air once again. The collector framework is indeed working for many, but it is failing for countless others, said Ali, as many player videos began to pop up behind them. All the videos titled in ways that showed their distaste for the collector framework, due to it neither working for them as they thought it would, or not at all. I'm aware of these players and their struggles, Ali, but I would like to make it known that the collector framework isn't for every player. Even Alexander stated so when he decided to start doing his videos to fans again, and I agree with him. If I'm being honest, I think that players shouldn't yet again try and follow what is being shown to work and again should try and find out what works for them as individuals. This game isn't made for followers, but leaders and the brave. Not that a more docile and less dangerous gameplay option isn't available to our players, but sticking to the norm isn't going to get anyone to the same level of play as our more creative and less cautious players are going to experience. They have a will to take risk and find rewards where others believe there to be none. And that is what we are all seeing in Alexander's stream with his friends. I suppose we will have to figure out how to overcome our challenges in game together, my friends. Just take your time and stay committed. If this game is truly made to make anything possible, then all of us can find our way to the top. We just need to keep searching, said Ali, staring down Edward momentarily before looking into the camera with a vicious smile. And until we speak again, good. Wait, Ali, I didn't just come down here to get bashed and kicked off again. I have something to share with the world, as Endless is getting its first update. Oh, really? Are you finally going to force your golden boy to leave his limitless stat fountain? Said Ali with a laugh. No. Yeah, I thought so. So what is it? What are you going to add to a game where anything is already possible? Said Ali with a sarcastic eye roll. Time compression. We are going to add time compression.
Copy.
Time compression.
Speech muted. Speech unmuted.
Wow.
Streamlabs desktop.
Work?
Pages. Pages. Chapter 11 Stealth Tactics pages. Save. Close. All pages has no window. Pages has no Streamlabs. Google Chrome. Finder. Finder. System set. Streamlabs desktop. Application. Now date modified. List view. Tape in covers folder. Stat sheets. Chapter 10 against all. Chapter 11. Chapter 12 The stretching of time pages. Document. Pages. Cancel. Button. Opening document. Layout area. Chapter 12
So, yeah. Time compression. I think this is one of the coolest aspects of anything virtual reality or... Yeah, because... Who doesn't want more time, you know? More time to do whatever they'd like in life. I think we feel like having more time in life just means that we're going to have more freedom to do what we want, when realistically, the more time you have, the more you feel like you should be doing something more, so then you feel it. And depending on what type of person you are, either you're going to fill it with more things that make you feel responsible or more things that, you know, either reward you mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever it might be, you know. So, yeah.
Page 1, Summary, Chapter 12, The Stretching of Time. Alexander Body, Page 1 of 4, Edit Text, Content Selected Body, Chapter 12, The Stretching of Time. Speech muted.
Chapter 11, Stealth Tactics. What do I have planned for the day? Said Alexander into the camera, taking time to chat with his growing...
That was ruthless.
Speech unmuted. Footer. Body. In beginning of new line. Chapter 12. Selected body Chapter 12. The stretch copy. Actions available.
Chapter 12.
Format text
The
quickly by
stretching of
voiceover
time.
jumping to the formatter.
Alexander
You are currently on a text area
He said
inside of a
delivery.
page. To enter text in this area, type speech muted.
Chapter 12. The Stretching of Time. Alexander paced. He set his delivery time for his upkeep hour and was excited in a way that he'd never experienced before. Going to be my first time using a pod rather than a capsule, said Alexander to himself in a murmur, feeling apprehension. Brittany was used to the highest level of immersion possible, having had played in her pod for years now, but Alexander had never upgraded, out of both fear and budgeting. Now, however, Alistair and his agency had made so much off his recent play that they were footing the bill for his new pod. A pod that would allow for the new time compression effects of Endless to go largely unnoticed by Alexander's body. Capsule players would be limited to an hour a day, which would give them a month of in-game time, while pod players wouldn't be limited in any way, shape, or form beyond their normal upkeep hour daily. This is going to change the game forever. Alexander heard a knock at his door, slightly annoyed as his delivery crew was supposed to be here nearly an hour ago. He'd quickly gone through his workout, fed himself, showered, and even gotten done with his short interaction with his fans, and no one had yet to show up. Probably going to have to use my pod for the first time tomorrow. Brittany will probably wring my neck if I'm late again, said Alexander. His partner had lost herself to PvP, and now wished she'd started out as a PvP player rather than a PvE player. They'd honestly conquered more of the game, playing against the environment rather than their fellow players, but Alexander had to agree. The thrill of fighting against equally skilled players was far more fun than Alexander ever expected it would be. Players in Endless struggled against NPCs with their far more ridiculous skills, spells, and abilities, but now it seemed that Alexander would soon be far more powerful than any normal avatar should be, more comparable to a native than any regular player. Brittany's love for the game had never diminished, but had rather become even more addictive than it once had. Their party at level 0 wasn't considered strong by any means as far as Alexander's opinion was concerned, but from what the online communities were saying, they were quickly on the rise for a level 0 party. "I'm coming," yelled Alexander after another knock came quickly after the first. "Late, and now impatient. Ain't that about a—" Alexander went silent as he noticed the door across the hall from his own condo was open, and workers were walking free of the room. "Hello, sir. I hope you don't mind. Edward sent us over with a rush order. He said that you probably wanted this done before your upkeep hour was done. And when we got here, we knocked. And since we were a little early, we assumed you were still logged in and let ourselves in to get the work done when we realized the install order was set for the apartment across the hall from the apartment that was being billed for the order," said a short young man that Edward had to look down to see. His smile was faint, and though he wore a suit, Alexander noticed the same oil smudges on his fingertips as the rest of the workers that exited the apartment across the hall. "Wow, thanks. Does that mean you are all done already?" "Yes, sir. We still have a few things to show you, but the update is about to launch in about 10 minutes, so anyone logged in is going to have to log out and update or reboot for the time compression effects, which gives us just enough time to show you how everything works. Works for me." Before long, Alexander found himself floating in a gelatin within a sphere. His feet were barely able to touch the bottom if he searched for it with his toes, and after he got used to it, Edward began to yell down from the top and exit of the massive sphere. Gravity systems engaging in 3, 2... Alexander felt the changes instantly and was immediately able to touch the bottom of the sphere with both of his feet. Just move as you normally would. Those same awkward movements will be shared by your avatar in-game if your synchronization is off. Trust. You don't want us out here to get you rebalanced every week, especially with the new time dilation. "What do you mean?" said Alexander, forced to yell as the sounds within the spherical pod became loud suddenly. Let's say you end up glitching. We are 5 minutes out. The dilation is like a month per hour spent in-game, so if you don't log out, you'll be glitching for a week of in-game playtime. My math is probably off, but yeah, we are really 15 minutes out, so you figure out how long you'll have to deal with the issue." Alexander indeed did the math and immediately forced himself to calm down, even beginning to transition between a few basic martial stances as he took deep breaths. "Ha! Told you fuckers he would do the same shit as, Malice." All Alexander heard was Edward's parting words and distant laughter as the engineer shut him inside. Once closed the features of the pod fully engaged, and Alexander could no longer tell he was in a sphere, the entire pod moving with his every motion to simulate movement. where stepping backward in a ball would normally be noticed, his backward movements only resulted in feeling as if he stood on completely solid ground. The sphere's rotation and simulated flat ground was what achieved being able to run and explore within a completely open world. The gelatinous material that surrounded his entire body from his toes to his neck was entirely made of nanobots that hardened to simulate objects within the game. The material even able to rise beyond his chin and make contact with his face and head. This was made possible for the instances where a player's face was touched, or head was struck with weaponry, or even any other in-game item. Now this is going to be interesting, thought Alexander as an automated voice spoke, detailing his 100% synchronization rate. I'll definitely have to thank Malice for that. Then the download for the patch completed, and Alexander was thrust into Endless in a way he never had before. He was snapped into his body after the startup checklist instantly, and a new video began to play as his avatar's astral projected form was pulled into the sky. Only a rare few of you have come to truly begin to understand what Endless is, started the same beautiful voice that always spoke to him when giving him updates. He was pulled into the sky alongside what seemed to be a vast sea of billions of other players, all at the same time. Your fear has clouded what has been given to you, making this limitless opportunity far less than it should be, and some of you will correct these mistakes with time, while many others will continue to leave blessings to those with unpure desires in regard to even your own avatar's life. At these words, Alexander and many others gathered began to look around, all unsure, even Alexander. Many began to cry out in question, but Alexander chose to wait and listen, hoping more answers were to come. New options have been given. Hardcore mode offers a one-life package to players per avatar, giving far more access to locked aspects of the shop and higher drop rates on powerful armor and weaponry, said the voice. And Alexander shrugged, knowing that he didn't use the shop, nor truly think that anything offered there would be able to beat the new crafters that may pop up in-game with the collector framework and its benefits now truly understood in the world of Endless Isekai Online. Additionally, is the new elite game mode that will result in the death of a player in addition to their avatar when playing. This mode will come with new content and incomparable loot D so far online in any game, and leveling speeds will require a contract to engage and cannot be started in-game. The sudden gasp, to Alexander's surprise, included his own at the announcement. He was stunned momentarily, missing what the beautiful voice said as his mind raced briefly. Should I? He shook his head and rethought the ridiculous notion. At best, he'd play hardcore mode after he came to truly understand the collector framework that he felt more a pioneer of than anything else he'd ever experienced gaming online. The elite mode left completely unappealing until one of the new game modes was shown. Even more gasps were shared as a player was dropped from the sky and left stranded on a floating island. The island's natives were soon under the player's guidance, and second by second, a story was told before all, who watched the images flashing in the clouds above them all like a giant monitor. Alexander couldn't believe his eyes as the huts that the natives built became more. A blooming town quickly constructed. Then, as progress continued, they watched as a kingdom was built on the floating isle, watching as it was raided and infiltrated in many ways, only to become even more formidable, even to the point that the isle itself grew larger, now taking up far more space than it originally had on its course through the sky. Alexander knew what he was looking at even before the familiar battleground formed before his eyes. "That's Imperial, isn't it?" said Alexander, mumbling underneath his breath as the figure that fell from the sky was shown walking beneath the old Imperial Palace, before a new, even larger home to the noble line was built atop the former home. The new seat of power far more grand than even the minor kingdoms built by current guilds and other player groups. His mind raced again at the sight of the man beneath Imperial. What the man's presence there may mean for his achievement, and why higher ranks of his player versus player goal had never been completed. Interesting, can I only interact with him as an elite? The voice discussed many more matters detailing the time dilation process, and how it would affect being in and out of game. The many that were still restricted to a single hour outside of a headset, and capsule as their option of play, would miss an entire month worth of in-game experiences, only caught up by news content that would be delivered all day, every day from that point on. Be wary travelers. The natives take note of your expanded time within their lands as blasphemous. Only your reputations will allow for safe exploration of these foreign lands henceforth. The voice finally concluded with the giving of a blessing that expanded a singular player trait, one that Alexander nearly fainted when he saw as he returned to his body. Notification, a fraction of godhood has been upgraded. The former 1/10 modifier has been upgraded to 1/2 modifier. This is unique to you and you alone. And as you are aware, even some natives are still wanting for the blessing you have obtained as your legacy. Child of Omni. Tread lightly? No motherfucking way, that just happened. He knew any that were watching his stream currently were in an absolute outrage, assuming that his levels of hatred by many a player had just risen potentially tenfold. Well, that makes things interesting for sure, said Alexander both to himself and his viewers. He was trying to interact more as he had originally, not out of obligation, but instead as the establishing part of his new brand. I don't think I'll be taking part in any of the new modes at first. There is still a lot of crafting that I need to explore first, before I really start to level. But that will all come later. Anyone watching, if you remember to remind me about my thoughts on the first 11 chosen skills by players for their avatars, bring it up during my update session later, said Alexander aloud. Only then he realized. Never mind, there is no current need for me to log out, so I better make time for this now, started Alexander. He was returned to his body, still standing within his prison cell, continuing his explanation as he sat in his previous death trap, turned seeming throne to some of his fans. Many of us have long looked at this game wrong. I am adamant about that now for sure. And lots of you are making new characters right now. And I know that it is far easier to follow builds to get started, which I am not knocking. But there is one skill that I think should be added to all builds being used in the meta. And that 1-star skill may bridge the gap between the basic builds and what we are calling the collector framework. Alistair stood next to her boss and watched the number of those tuned into Alexander's stream skyrocket the moment he sat down and gave word that he would be sharing. The numbers were absurd, and now made Alexander enter a new bracket of streamer entirely. These are planetary stream numbers, said Alistair, beginning to pace as the smile widened on her boss's face. As a coin in media, I was told even by my family that I'd never break into planetary markets by streaming a fantasy video game. Alistair paused, stunned by the woman's words. It was the first she ever heard of such a thing from her superior and long-time idol in many areas of life, even beyond business. To know that a woman she believed didn't even need air to stay alive any longer she'd reached such levels of perfection, Alistair couldn't quite connect the image she'd built up in her head, with absolutely anyone doubting her for a second. Well, they were wrong, started Alistair when a knock came at her door. It's open, said both women, and Alistair's assistant popped her head in, speaking without completely entering. Split your screen. It's contagious, I guess. Brittany's breaking into the planetary numbers. Twice in one day. I guess it's not a fluke. I wonder if their guild members are gaining the same momentum, said Alistair, thinking aloud. With a wave of her hand, Brittany's battle came up, and she silenced the young woman fighting nearly 7-1, and winning. Every player around her, obviously wielding more stats than Brittany had gained since restarting, was being given to them by their equipment, alone. Alistair almost missed what Brittany was saying, not wanting to miss what Alexander was explaining, only for the pair to somehow both communicate their thoughts without interrupting one another. The skill is discussed. This 1-star skill is literally on the dead skills list, and might be much of why we as travelers have no way of truly gaining a foothold, said Alexander, drastically, not because I am consistently coming out on top in these situations, but the way it is shifting my mindset in every battle I approach is what has changed. Things like this didn't matter before, but I can see how they do now, and will become more important in the future, said Brittany, battling in Imperial already, speaking to her audience as she trained and waited for Alexander to join her. What a couple, said Alistair's assistant, nearly closing the door. But the woman's words triggered a thought. Aye, hold it right there. Send this over to media, put our primary broadcast as their 2 channels side by side, do it now, and make sure it starts showing the start timers for their streams, said Alistair, looking to her boss when her assistant's eyes went wide. What? That wasn't too ridiculous of an idea, was it? One of the queens of the apparently still growing coin empire looked at her with a raised brow, giving a single nod as an affirmative. This is why I pay you the big bucks. She was in absolute disbelief. She'd just been messaged and told that she would have to enter the game to speak to Alexander to interview him. An interview with the planet's largest streamer, now ranked across the galaxy in views, rather than just on Earth, as he previously had been. Then, the duo screen popped up, and she almost lost her mind at how improbable what she was seeing was. Miss Good, would you like some? She waved off the associate, shutting the individual in the broadcasting center up, as the most impossible of conversations was had without either person knowing. Fuck me, that's beautiful. If we ignore what's being learned by the changes in gameplay as we unlock more features, then we are just stupid. Do you all really think that it is a coincidence that these new insane game modes were added now? No, of course not. Everything I'm doing now is to break down the fundamental features given to me. If I ignore them, I'll probably stay weak. The collector framework has increased my leveling speed 10-fold already, and that is probably limited by my own lack of imagination. I'm going to try and do the same. I want to know why the game is far more open to my fellow collectors and I than everyone else. This may not be forever. What if this option is capped at a certain number of players? I know this is crazy, but I think that there may be a higher internal ranking system that we haven't gained access to. Even now, there are level 1 raid bosses strong enough to wipe my old guild even at its height. Exactly. There is no way that I should be able to fight at this level already. I know my understanding of stats is different due to being at such a high level for so long. And I am prestiged. But that isn't enough to explain all of this unlocked potential without even having had leveled once yet. I'd almost want to sign up for an interplanetary tournament if this build proves to be any stronger. With the increase in playtime we are now being awarded, I plan to learn heal in 1 day of real time, and maybe even try and gain a natural in-game access to nanobots. Now, wouldn't that be amazing? On my channel over the next actual day, I'm going to explore with you and the rest of the collectors, and try something I've always wanted to do in every game, but always failed. I think it's time that I construct a tanking class for mages. I think it's time that I become a spell tank. Alexander had no clue what his words had caused, unknowing that he and his ex had just seemingly had a conversation across dimensions. His pauses for thought, and Brittany's own incredible skill to fight and read comments without dying, had made for a spectacle unlike any other. He rose to his feet and conjured the wooden tower shield he was coming to love almost as much as his previous shield. No, the simple wood wasn't embellished with a massive woven Cerberus, nor did it offer incredible stats. Yet still he felt comforted and began working on pumping as much mana as he could into the wood. "You ready?" asked Brittany, her voice in his head as he accepted her invite to party up. "Yeah, what about everyone else?" "Ready," came a chorus of voices as Darren and his sister Olivia spoke up. "Good, we have a lot to do, and I know we have seemingly been given more time for everything, but instead of slowing things down for training like we are for exploring the framework, I think the intensity for everything practice and crafting should go up as much as possible. All of this just seems way too coincidental for me." "Noted," said Olivia. "Agreed," said Darren. "Okay then, so where do we start?" asked Brittany. Alexander rolled his eyes. "You know what's next, Booligan. You just want to hear me say it, don't you?" "Indeed, baby boy. Indeed I do." Alexander sighed and clicked the start icon for the Imperial battleground. "Let's get us a fuck ton of kills, guys." Brittany lost it, screaming and grunting in excitement. "All chains are off, people," he said it. "No more mapping of the area. It's killing shit and ranking the fuck-up time motherfuckers." "I don't care what that backwater streamer says. These idiots are using dead skills. Their skills will lose power by level 5 max," said a mage at the back of the group, heading toward the front gate of Imperial. She'd never fought one of the newly dubbed collectors, but many in her guild had not only fought some and killed many, but also... "You don't want to try it?" I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted. But come on, my guy. This is the most played game in our galaxy for all we know, and you expect me to either delete my character, pay 500,000 credits or more, or complete some ungodly difficult quest for a prestige token? Absolutely the fuck not, said the mage, growing excited by the sound of the battering ram being used on the gate, pushing aside the mystery of why more than half of her guild had deleted their characters to restart. "Get ready, the gate is almost..." A cry from closer to the gate was cut off as someone became visible standing atop the wall's parapet. The mage's eyes narrowed, knowing that some characters at higher stat levels would often jump from the top of that section of the wall. Most, if not all, from what she knew at least, that were capable of the jump. Before level 1, that weren't stealth-based classes, with their falling feats on top of acrobatic feats, was a completely non-existent group. Mages could slow fall, and tanks could survive the damage, but not any encounters thereafter without healing of an incredible nature. Something the mage would now learn was only true before the collector framework. Someone shoot that idiot down. We are almost through. Hearing those words, the mage began to cast her favorited spell, blue and white flames twisting down her arms as she summoned a handful of imploding fireballs. She sent the orbs soaring and watched as the man in all white raised his shield. The simple wood, nothing that could stop her attacks by any means. Sorry about it, newbie, just the way it is, thought the mage as her fireballs streaked in an impressive arc, the woman trying to knock her target skyward. God! Her thought cut off as the young man's shield lit, and he dove shield first toward her fireballs. The impacts were consumed by the shield, bursting outward like the trails of a comet as the player plummeted toward the group below. Each fireball's implosion companioned by a boom. Fire wrapping around the body of the player in a beautiful dance of blue flames and golden mana. The player smashed into the ground, knocking players through the air as the absorbed fireballs exploded outward, before a singular massive implosion yanked many players back through the air bodily, only to be smashed into a second time by the still-burning tower shield being wielded by the now upright and charging directly toward her white-masked player who was cackling in delight. The mage wasn't even able to truly understand the levels of chaos that ensued even in the split second before she died, completely run over as smoke bombs bursted all around the massive group of raiding players. Arrows rained down. Heads fell from their shoulders, and the raid fell apart. Not a single player making it beyond that point for the current raid, as 4 players completely controlled the entrance, even as the gate burned to cinders above the growing blackened smoke cloud, elemental blue flames rising skyward, with every killed player being fed to the flames.
Speech unmuted.
Man.
Finder. Chapter 13, unfinished business pages, document. Chapter 13, Chapter 12, the stretching of Chapter 13, pages. Cancel, button. Opening Chapter 13, unfinished business pages.
I didn't
You
even
are
know that I
currently on a
finished this
button.
entire
To
chapter.
click this button, press Control, Option,
So,
Space.
we'll see.
17% progress indicator. You are currently on a progress in document. Layout area. 3,843 words. Document. In document. Page 3, summary. Page 7. Page 9. Page 10. Page 10. Summary. No. They'd prefer their body. Page 8 of 10. Edit text. Content selected body. So project Build a Storm began with an abduction.
Chapter 13.
Speech muted.
Unfinished business. Alexander stared at the party invite from Good and transferred it over to Brittany to handle. He was confused by the random invite, still not using his in-game chat. He didn't have a chat in real life without his phone, so while exploring Endless, he would also be untethered and unconnected to anything but those gathered directly around him. "What the fuck is this about?" asked Brittany. Alexander glanced at her, seeing her quickly darting eyes reading something unseen to him. Thought she would have ignored it too. Their eyes met as she looked up, and her brow furrowed. Alexander smirking at the peculiar smile his ex put on as she looked up at him. Yeah, you aren't going to hate this, but you aren't going to like it either," said Brittany, stepping closer, putting herself just outside the hearing range of Olivia and Darren nearby, the pair working on random projects as they prepared for their next battleground. "Spill it," whispered Alexander. Brittany closed in, glancing playfully toward their friends, but he could still tell that she was preparing to tell him something she believed to be serious. She still purses her lips when she is really chewing on something mentally. Bet my stream is eating that face up. "Wait, what am I thinking about right now? Focus, dumbass, it's training time. You have to take the fucking interview with Miss Wannabe a Streamer, but can't cut it," said Brittany in a haughty tone. Alexander's eyes narrowed, and Brittany cut him off as his mouth opened to answer. "We broke into the low thousands in the top 10,000 players streamed in our entire galaxy. My guy, this is bigger than your current aversion to want to play nice with the admins." Alexander's first thoughts were simple. They grew to be momentarily wild, and in the end, only one word came out. Interplanetary. Alexander forced down the still persistent need to turn back on his stream's chat function. His change of gameplay and focus being proclaimed to be more interesting by an expanded viewership was nothing more than another sign. "Stay on your path, Ace. This is going to be difficult enough without me spending a large amount of my processing time worrying over comments." "Changes nothing," said Alexander, smiling as he looked back toward Brittany, looking her in the eyes after looking away in thought. She rolled her eyes and flicked him in the forehead faster than he could react. "It changes everything." The silence between her statement's end and the rest of her explanation carried weight, and though he wanted to, Alexander couldn't ignore the reality of what was being shared. "We are good, but we will be playing with people from far larger planets than Earth because of this now," said Brittany, trying to clarify. It was his turn to roll his eyes. The pay-to-wins, said Alexander, sucking his teeth in irritation, and Brittany nodded, their conversation becoming less and less private the longer they spoke. Look, you two, we paid for the reset and got cut off by our parents. What more do you want? Said Darren, walking over with his sister at his side. Shut up, Darren. Having dozens of people being paid to support your play is far different from being the skilled players you and your sister are, said Alexander, sighing heavily. He scratched his neck, looking between his friends, trying to collect both his truth and his expectations of those gathered. I'm not going to start another guild, but if I'm going to be expected to lead by a few close friends, I should do my best not to be a dick all the time. Most of those players are only successful because of the willing fodder they pay to make their in-game experience easier. But something is telling me that with all the changes coming to the game, especially with the collector framework, even those players' avatars are going to be nothing more than trash mobs in the next few days. Olivia's gaze shifted from the unskillfully retained glare that had been to her more agreeable, iconic idol smile, her eyes telling Alexander everything. Why is she looking at me like that? It's not like I agree with what people are saying about us all. She's acting like they don't love me, too. Look, we built a strong guild before we even knew what we were doing when we first started. And yeah, with what I know now about the game, I guess we still don't really know anything. But I can tell you all this, I only wanted to come back and play with you all, win or lose, weak or strong. I'm here to have a great time with the people that popped into my mind when I was notified that my character was going to be deleted. Darren and his sister looked at one another and smiled, as Alexander looked to see Brittany smiling toward him. So what? Are we about to get our asses kicked like we already have been for, like what I swear feels like a week now? Asked Olivia. Alexander smiled and nodded. Hopefully, but I guess we are going to do an interview with MS Good from Epistemic News, said Alexander, slowly putting on the white mask he'd been using during PvP matches. You're not thinking of doing what you did to her the last time she tried to interview you, are you? Asked Darren. Both Brittany and Olivia frowned, looking between the seemingly worried Darren and Alexander, whose voice carried a tinge of laughter as he spoke next. No. Wait, he's lying right, I can tell, I think, but I didn't know that she tried to interview you already, said Olivia. Brittany crossed her arms and her frown deepened. Yeah, I didn't either. That's because it never fucking happened, said Darren, starting to laugh near uncontrollably. He tried many times to breathe and even start to tell a story, but the mere thought of his memories sent him bursting with laughter. Seriously, what did you do to her? I didn't do a damn thing to her. I just didn't do the interview, that's it. Which was entirely true. However, it was also an omission of proportions never to be attempted by any young man known deeply by a young woman. Yeah, said Brittany, trailing off, glaring at Alexander as she jabbed a finger into Darren's side. Oh, what? Why me? Because he works out too much, and I like my fingers to bend properly after I poke people. Darren, what happened with the interview? Said Brittany, slowly turning her glare on their friend. Oh, believe me, I'm not hiding a thing. This is one of my favorite stories of all time, said Darren as a preface to his story. It all started a long time ago when Alexander was one of the strongest players in the game, and our beloved MS Good wanted to start her career off with a bang by interviewing our favored commander, Alexander, Cerberus, Elysium. So I have to walk through this portal, and he is waiting for me on the other side, asked the new reporter to the head of the traveler team that helped her trek across the starting zones in the city of Anchor. Why is he smiling at me like that? The man nodded, glancing back at his team, before chuckling a response. Through that portal is your interview, ma'am, started the traveler, turning to leave as he spoke. Not that you're going to get what you want. She looked back toward the portal, trying to dismiss the man. She'd only been forced to work with him and his ill-built group of adventurers for a handful of hours, and already felt as if she needed a bath. If it weren't for the fact that players were struggling to traverse the wildernesses between populated zones in recent months, she'd come alone and saved the few months of savings she'd needed to use to get the aid of the hired security. If you can even call those drunken bastards security. She took a deep breath and managed a single glance at the city of Anchor outside the portal-filled atrium she was now within. The sight was captivating and rewarding, as was looking at any of the countless cities within the game known as Endless Isekai online. Then she took a step forward and felt as if she'd exited from a place of calm beauty into an identical scene overlaid in havoc and chaos. Oh my! The same city was now ruined in a way that carried markers of natural disasters and large-scale battle. The stone was cracked and crumbling, the gardens ablaze. Even the skyscraper-sized fountain at the center of the city lay bent at the waist like the Tower of Pisa, that once contained waters spilling dangerously into normally untouched sectors of the previously harmonious city. "What happened?" said the reporter, slowly turning around to see that her entry portal was gone, and the sound of a building roar touched her ears. The ground itself trembled, and she nervously tried to locate where the collective pandemonium seemed to be coming from. Why would my interviewee want to meet in a place like... Then the charging army came into view, headed by the very man she was here to meet. "There you are, kid. I fucking found you, you brat." Then the second cacophony of sounds could be heard building in volume from behind the reporter, and she turned to see yet another massive group, headed directly toward her. "Wait, am I..." She, in that moment, looked both ways to either side of herself, as if she was about to cross the road in a particularly uncaring neighborhood, lacking appropriate stop and speed street signage. Her blood ran cold when she realized that she was completely enclosed by large stone buildings to either side. She had no combat experience. She was a reporter. So began her first of many deaths in a hunt for an interview she wouldn't gain for years to come, something she wished she knew, as she stared down the shield-wielding elite that look at her, even as his opponent knocked her head clean off her shoulders with a single swing of his mace, receiving her first ever game over screen while playing. Motherfucker. And that was only the beginning. He ran the demon triathlon and didn't let her know he was being followed by a horde of man-eating monsters, rampaged through that one small town during a duel. Yeah, the small town that Mess Good was traveling toward. Oops, there goes another inn. By this point in Darren's story, his sister was also cackling in laughter, and Brittany fought rather hard not to do the same. "I remember that week I thought you'd lost your mind, and instead you were just being normal and running from something you felt was intimidating," said Brittany. Her and Olivia stopped laughing long enough to share a momentary look, their gazes sharing an identical sentiment. "Or," said both young women, before they then immediately bursted back into fits. Alexander continued to warm up as his team laughed and laughed, not knowing that he completely intended to brush the interview off on them all, and would be completely satisfied with more destroyed inns. Uncaring if they were prepared or not, he initiated their party's entry into the queue for Imperial. Alexander looked at the increased prompt's cost for an extra soul to participate in the battleground, thinking nothing of it at first. The familiar setting of the defensible kingdom's large front gate made Alexander smile underneath his mask, and he took a deep breath. He needed to learn some way of using the elemental magics he knew could set him apart from the rest of the casters he'd faced previously. No longer being constrained to the basic frameworks of the game came with a lot of possibilities that Alexander couldn't help but mentally play with. What if I could summon a black hole on the face of my shield as I charged? Or what if striking someone with my shield resulted in a focused meteor strike? Or storm even to follow my target? What if I could chain those two attacks one after the other? His goals would have once seemed like figments of a large imagination, and far too many movies as a child. But to Alexander, they were now targets. What kind of weapons does this game really give me access to? Thought Alexander as he looked around. It didn't take him but a solitary scan of the surrounding crowd to start to be able to pick out his party members. Not because of the quickly gaining popularity white masks they all wore, but because of the inclusion of the pure white tabards they all seemed to be wearing as well. The only exclusion to their party not wearing their beloved near-pure cultish white uniform was Miss Good, who was being handed a white mask that she looked at strangely at first. "Put it on, and you share the aggro. Don't, and..." He watched the woman contemplate further, lifting it to her face to inspect the simple mask closely for any noticeable glues or visible traps, pulling it away from herself as her glare deepened. "Wouldn't that be fun, running around with you at our center? Everyone believing you to be our protected leader. I wonder who would die first if a skirmish broke out." Yet it was not meant to be. The woman somehow seemed to hone in on him, Alexander forgetting his height. She stared him down, nodding seemingly more to herself than anyone else, and placed the mask upon her face. I guess it wasn't meant to be. They gathered, and Alexander gave a customary grunt that made Brittany snicker and Ms. Goodgood chuckle. "What's your name again?" said Alexander, with a point in the latter's direction, only to then drop his hand dismissively and look toward Darren. "Doesn't matter. Your codename from henceforth is Princess Diana." A slight gasp was heard from the newly nicknamed reporter, Alexander chuckling as her name changed in the party windows in the corner of his vision. "I assume you all caught her up?" asked Alexander. "Not really, but," said Darren, trying to relay that there was a lot that they should share. Matters of importance that could potentially even keep her alive longer while she shadowed them. Good. I have to get into the magic school without being noticed. Replace a random student and find a teacher all before the city's invasion can truly begin, said Alexander, summoning his shield from his inventory and turning on his heel. As he sprinted off, so did the others. Wait, what? Yelled the reporter in confusion. Alexander chuckled and kept running. Unlike the others, his mission was far more significant than anyone else's. Much of what they wanted to learn could be gained easily through practice, or by infiltrating the enemy army and interacting with trainers. The increased rewards from being taught by an enemy of any kind, long been known to be a real in-game element, but never one that players believed to be a feasible path with how interacting with natives had been previously. It had taken both finding and slightly torturing the warfare master of the enemy army. The slightly elderly man seemed durable and hadn't died during the waterboarding. Why go through all of this to learn about the interior of a city that they already had access to, one might ask? However ridiculous and over the top their actions might look from an outside perspective, even some of the game developers watching his stream struggled to believe how he'd come by the information. His best bet at gaining access to the elements of magic he wanted was in the skill Storm Mastery, the ability, Storm Magic, and the spell, Storm Manipulation. One of any of which could give him what he wanted, but none outside the magic school at the center of Imperial would even have a professional with the knowledge base to teach him, let alone pass on the desired effects successfully. Through their dozens of unsuccessful raids on the enemy camps, they had also learned many things that were indeed helpful, but not immediately so. More in an intangible future that would only come to pass if they all managed to build truly powerful classes without the aid of system frameworks. So, why was he about to kidnap a magic school student? Because as a traveler, the school would never admit him. Why was his allotted time so sparse? That was due to the hundreds of player avatars raiding the city. The moment the city became the object of a siege was the exact same moment that every powerful native in the city's limits was notified to the invasion of their home, which caused all the teachers of the very same magic school he was trying to infiltrate to drop everything and run to aid the city's boundaries against invaders. As far as other battleground options went, Imperial was the most well-kept of the options, and before being conquered by particularly strong raiding teams, without a doubt would continue to prove to be his best option. So Project Build the Storm began with an abduction. "Who are you?" yelled the student, yelling from their dormitory's closet. "Just a guy who is really tall, and didn't have an option but to target you, someone equally as tall," said Alexander, continuing to put on the Imperial Magic School's uniform in a rush. Not wearing a mask didn't matter with his disguise, as the odds of other travelers seeing him was small, and the natives had no idea who he was. "You're not going to kill me, are you?" Alexander didn't even try and stop his captive from yelling. "No, I just need someone to take me on as a student. If I manage that, then none of this will matter. I'll be able to come back to school here and learn whenever I'd like. I'm not even going to gag you. Just if you don't mind, give me like 20 minutes to get to the other side of campus, please," said Alexander, buckling the combat boots of the uniform's militaristic dress as far up as he could with their slightly too tight fit. "You're not some terrorist about to blow up my school, are you?" Alexander shook his head. "Are you not listening to me? I'm here to learn," aid Alexander, heading toward the dorm's entrance, not even bothering to close the closet door on the roughed-up youth. "Wish you were," muttered the student as Alexander stepped free of the dorm and began to run. He knew the smell of smoke in the air probably wasn't a good sign, but if he could just get to the classrooms and... "Where are you all going?" asked Alexander, knowing the answer as the students and teachers alike began to brush past him on their exits. "Didn't you hear, you idiot? War is upon us," said one of the many students, and Alexander sighed. He sat down, honestly exhausted. He'd sprinted practically across the length of the city itself, and not for the first time, to once more be too late. He sat in the dark of the room and sulked. He knew he was close, but couldn't get what needed to be tweaked in his plan, either mentally or physically, for him to cut down the time it took him to get from his starting point to his current goal. "I am surprised to see anyone still in class with what is going on outside," said a voice from deeper within the classroom. Alexander lifted his gaze to see an old man sitting upright, straight-backed and staring him down. He sat at the chain of large desks at the center of the room shared by all of the teachers, yet still somehow the man's presence demanded all of the space, as if any more beside him could not touch his magnitude without diminishment. "Yeah, I look young, but I've done the battle thing a lot already. Not saying that I've had my fill or anything, but without expanding my knowledge first. Rushing back into battle again and again is simply asking for death. You know, stop learning, stop living is what they say, right? Is that your truth, child? Learning? I thought you were here to kill me. Aid the old man. Really? Why, I'm just sitting here. I came in search of a teacher of elemental magics, only for the school to practically shut down on my first day of class, said Alexander artfully, surprised that the man was even speaking to him. Cursing himself when he remembered that he was going to experience life differently in-game now that reputations were actually a factor in the game for him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. Is there any reason why you are wearing the uniform of my disciple and not one of your own? Alexander would have tried to play off the situation with ignorance, but instead looked down, wondering what had given him away. Noting the stylized name intricately stitched at the base of the silken cape, draping itself down one side of his back. Now that I should have definitely noticed prior to now, said Alexander. The old man's laugh made him laugh, and Alexander walked to the window. Sorry for intruding on your class. I just want to learn things normally not taught to my kind, and feel I may have hit a bit of a wall, which is why I am here in my desperation. I see, said the man, continuing to grade papers unbothered by the violence Alexander watched ensuing outside. Then he had a thought, looking back at the man as he analyzed the oddity. Why are you here, old man? Aren't you going to help the city survive all of this? Said Alexander, gesturing toward a burning set of towers in the opposing courtyard of the magic school's campus. Said the man, his scoff more chuckle than a clearing of the throat. No, they'd prefer there be a city left. My touch is necessary when matters stray from beyond the realm of the stars. Not even the sleeping one beneath our kingdom would want me to interfere with such an invasion. Alexander felt his mouth open in astonishment as multiple things became apparent to him all at once. First, was that the man before him was incredibly powerful, or a liar of uncountable quantity and measure. Second, was that this interaction wasn't normal, and shouldn't be taken lightly. While the final detail of importance was, you know the one that is beneath Imperial.
So he's talking to this guy, and this guy knows. So we just showed the vision of the king of the kingdom who's under the palace. And that's his dad that Ace is speaking to right there. So, yeah. I think I know where I'm going. With this one. So, very next chapter, we're probably going to have him finish this conversation, go interact with Miss Allie Good in the interview. And then from there, we'll probably have him dabbling in the frost magic and more of the drain. Or the spell absorb, yeah. Okay. Trying to think. Yeah. Other than that, let's see how long we've been at it, guys. I mean, shoot.
Speech unmuted. Pages. Google Chrome. Safari. Speechify. Full toolbar. Add full alphabetic grid view. Image. Finder. Find. Speechify. Pages. Streamlabs. Streamlab group. 0 view group. Live 0 out. End stream. But live 1 hour. 14-minute group. 0 viewers. Group. 0 group. Live 1 hour. End stream. But live 1 hour. 14.
Okay. Well.
Group. Share stream. Share group. Link. Menu to YouTube. Multi-stream. End of menu. Group. End of menu. Multi-stream. Menu item. 2 of 2. YouTube. Menu. Link. Group. Shares. Group. 0 viewers. Group. Live 1 hour. 14 minutes. End stream. Button. Group. Rec. Button. End. Live 1 hour. Group. 0 group. Share stream. Link.
Well. I appreciate you guys.
Live 1 hour. End stream. Button.
We had a buzz earlier. We had 5 people on the stream, and then all of a sudden, you know how it goes. But it is what it is. yeah. If you're a fan of Spell Tank, I will be writing for Spell Tank probably next Saturday. If you're interested in seeing the writing process for this one, because this one's a lot of slice of life, video game kind of stuff, and soon we're gonna start to show his rival, which is this guy with a sniper rifle, who ends up recreating his character as well, and is way more creative than Ace is with his recreation or rebuilding of his character. But yeah, so yeah, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good time. Good time. Gotta get some other stuff done today, but I really appreciate everybody who's been tuning in, all the new subscribers, everybody who is doing the to become an author writing challenge. Again, thank you for buying the books off the Amazon page. I know that it's coming from you guys that are watching me here, because the only place I've actually been posting my Amazon link is in the bios for these, not bios, the descriptions for these videos that I'm doing in these lives. So I really do appreciate you guys checking out my work and buying from me. Also, the reviews have been amazing. Thank you so much. 4s and 5 stars. That really means the world to me. I'm doing my best. Me and my editor work really hard on those projects, and we might even, after we get done with the first ending, Endless, I might do a few short releases for Endless Isekai again, but it just depends. Other than that, like I said, the Patreon subscriptions as well, that means the world to me as well. I mean, I know that you're only getting one bonus a chapter a week in each project as of right now, but that will change with time as I get to write more often. Yeah. Trying to think of what else. Oh, thank you for the reviews on the Railroad Cultivators Discord. Appreciate people going in there and leaving what they want me to review and their suggestions for LitRPG and audiobooks. Really appreciate that, guys. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you guys are being good to yourselves. I hope you guys are writing and using your everyday life and exploring new things as inspiration. I hope you guys are being good to yourselves and the people that love you and that are supporting you in your writing and your want to share with the world. And I hope you're being good to yourselves. I'm going to keep saying that. I hope you're being good to yourselves. But we'll be back tomorrow with Of Omens and Omnis, Loso, Life of Symphony Omen. We'll be back with that tomorrow. Probably going to try to finish that chapter that we started last week, maybe even introduce the school sovereignty, and then yeah, come back for more Death Wish. If you're a Pocket FM person, come back every day as we will be releasing. I think I'm gonna just release all 13 of these either on Pocket FM or maybe just leave it exclusive to YouTube, or or release it on Royal Road. I'm gonna leave a poll in the community actually for that, so if you guys have time, please go in there and vote on where you would like to see Spell Tank actually published, because this is the only place I have it shared other than, I think, literally Facebook. So all right, guys.
Button. End stream. Live 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 6 seconds.
Yeah.
You are
Until we speak again, guys, write more. Challenge yourselves. Take a deep breath when things get stressful. Do good to the people that do good in your direction. Don't push yourself harder than you feel is necessary. Heal every day. Love every day. Laugh every hour if you can. Otherwise, I love you guys.
group. Live 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 6 seconds. You are currently in live 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 56 seconds. End live 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 1 second. End stream button. You are
Until we speak again, my